Hi guys, this is Melly. I wanted to start making videos to talk about some of the things that I've gone through in my life with having OCD, anxiety, and PTSD. This video is just about some of the misconceptions people have about OCD because of the media and how it's portrayed in a lot of places, and I just kind of want to get out to it. There's something that I hear a lot from people, and I know they don't mean anything by it, but I think it's important to understand that words do have power, and you never know who you could be hurting by the things that you say. So one of the things that I've heard a lot is like, OMG, you are so OCD. You need to keep everything clean. I wish you were so lucky. I wish I had OCD. But those of us who live with OCD probably don't consider ourselves lucky. And having OCD doesn't necessarily mean that I'm a neat freak or anything like that. It just kind of depends on everyone's OCD and what type of OCD they have. I hate to admit it, but my room is a mess. My clothes are color coordinated in my closet, but that's about it, and I don't think that's because of the OCD. I think that's just a personal preference. The way it was kind of explained to me is that because we're so exhausted from our OCD affecting us in our everyday life that sometimes simple everyday things kind of get left behind. Another reason also is that when I need to clean, I need like a whole day so that I can deep clean everything, like every corner, make sure everything that's a mess is gone. And that's kind of like a whole day effort, and most of the time there's not time to take a whole day to clean your room. So the things just kind of accumulate until you feel like you are ready to clean them. They start accumulating and accumulating more and more until it gets way more chaotic, and then you kind of just ignore it because thinking about the mess gives you anxiety, so sometimes it's just easier to ignore it. You see, before I was diagnosed with OCD, which was actually just this past summer of 2018, I had a feeling I had OCD because of some other quirks that I have, but because my room was so chaotic and so messy, and I was so messy in a lot of other things, I'm like, no, it can't be true. People with OCD tend to be really clean. It wasn't until later on that I found out that no, that's not what everybody's OCD is like. Sometimes there are people who have a personality quirk where they're very neat freaks, but that doesn't necessarily mean they have OCD. Another misconception that we sometimes get is that people with OCD, you can obviously tell who they are. I don't think so. I hid my symptoms very well, I think. Even my own family didn't really know how bad my OCD symptoms were because I tended to hide a lot of my, I think it's called stimming behaviors. So, I mean, when I was younger, I didn't really hide them, but they were kind of treated like nuisances, like, why are you doing that? You need to stop. People are looking at you, things like that. So I learned to hide it pretty well. And if I did meet some moments where I felt really a lot of anxiety because of my OCD and I needed to do some of my behaviors to calm down my anxiety, I would just hide it. I mean, right now I'm going through treatment, but I still have a lot of my behaviors. One of the behaviors I have is a constant hand rubbing where I'm just kind of like this the whole time, and then counting how many times I'm going over each finger. So kind of the way that I would do it, and I'm not going to do the whole process. I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 on the thumb, and then I would go and do that 4 times again, and then I would count the top of my hand 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 times over again, and it was just a constant thing of doing, and it would take a lot of time out of my day, and I'd be stuck in that loop for a while. Like right now, I can stop it now that I'm in medication a little bit. I mean, I'm not feeling really anxious right now, but when I'm having a lot of anxiety, it will keep happening again. My family kind of saw my hand rubbing as an anxiety thing. They didn't realize that I was kind of counting and things like that, and they would tell me to stop. The problem was that once I stopped, my mind would kind of still be stuck counting. So even if I wasn't physically touching my hand, or my hands were in a relaxed position, I was still counting, and I was just imagining my hand touching the other places. So it was kind of like how I was coping with the anxiety. Everyone has different symptoms and different ways of coping. Mine just kind of was a counting thing, which kind of explains why I love math so much. I actually take medication prescribed by the doctor because the counting was kind of getting in the way of my everyday life. But like I said, I only count now when I'm extremely anxious and need to calm down without people being able to tell. If I'm more comfortable and the people know I kind of have OCD and they really don't care about my those kind of behaviors, I'll kind of rub my hands kind of fiercely on my skirts or my pants if it has a lot of texture, and it's kind of like just a rubbing back and forth on texture and things like that until I can get calmed down. I know that if I were to do that in public, people would probably give me kind of weird looks because, well, people who don't understand it, you never know what people think. Um, One of the things that I get a lot with OCD, even with depression, anxiety, or my post-traumatic stress disorder, is that everybody seems to have a solution. Everybody seems to know what you should be doing and what you did wrong and how you should be solving this. And I know a lot of people mean well, but like I said, words have power, and if you're not going through those people's situations, you really don't know what it's like living in their shoes. There's days that you can't get out. With depression, you can't get up, and I understand that, and I'm not going to tell someone what to do with it. Most of the advice that I usually give is like, if it's affecting your life, therapy. I'm not saying medication. Medication is not for everybody. Not everybody wants to take medication. I understand that. But going to therapy, talking about it, talking with someone about it, getting, what is it? Like having someone to talk to that's not going to judge you as an unbiased person kind of helps, and someone that can help you deal with coping mechanisms. So sometimes some of the things that I've heard people say a lot is mind over matter. They're like, it's just mind over matter. You have to get over it. You can't think about it because if you think about it, it's going to get worse. And I've had close people tell me that. And, I kind of just nod politely and kind of change the subject because some people, you just can't change their mind. That's just what they believe. If it's appropriate and I feel like the person is willing to listen, I will explain that that's not exactly how it works. Um, some of the ways that I describe it is kind of how I see it on the internet, how other people describe it, what they think. Gosh, I Tumblr for that. And one of the ways I describe it is like, I'm also diabetic, so I'm like, well, I'm diabetic. And if it's kind of like saying, well, you're diabetic, but it's all mind over matter. You just need to stop taking your medication, stop thinking about it. You don't think about your diabetes, it'll go away. And we all know that's kind of dumb. I mean, we know that that's not how illnesses work, and mental illnesses are the same as that. They're just illnesses of the brain. That's it. But there's still help for it, and there's ways to get through it. I kind of remember when I was when I was a kid, adults would be pushing my hands down, telling me to stop and relax because of hand rubbing. And I know they meant well at that point in time, but telling me to relax was not going to help me. It's not going to be like, oh, thank God, I had never thought of that before. I had never thought that I had just to relax. It doesn't really do much. Right now, I'm going to therapy and learning coping mechanisms for my anxiety because of the OCD, and I'm able to kind of calm myself down. And when I'm anxious, I feel like if someone was with me who didn't understand but was a good person to rely on, I would just want them to say like, hey, is there anything I can do for you? Anything you need me to do to help you calm down? That's it. Don't. I've had people like, well, it's because of all the medicine you take. Or it's because your therapist isn't working. I'm like, no, my therapist is working because I'm dealing with it a lot better now. But these are all just kind of misconceptions because of the way the media kind of portrays OCD. I do have some coping mechanisms, which I think I'll talk about in a different video. I think that'd be more appropriate. One of the reasons I started making this video is because talking to someone about it or talking out loud to yourself about it actually can kind of help you see how bad your symptoms are and kind of help you cope with it a little bit. I go to therapy, and my therapist, I actually had an appointment today, but because we're under a winter storm, we can't go do that. But I'm hoping that this list of misconceptions helps a little bit. I do have one last misconception or thought that people think, and they think that people with OCD are weird and will never lead a happy life. We're going to be constantly with our anxiety, and we're not going to be able to move on from that. And when I was younger, that probably felt really true. And I felt that no matter what, my life would consist of me trying to hide all my symptoms and trying to fit in with general society. And I think that arose when people would tell their kids not to play with me because I'm a little weird. I guess they kind of felt that I was a little off, and it wasn't. I have OCD, and I have some other like sensory issues and things like that. So, um, their parents didn't want them to play with me because I was weird. And I think I think one of the places that I finally started feeling happier was when I started working in a preschool. And I think the reason for that is because children are kind of really accepting of anyone, as long as they're kind and as long as you're kind to them and you're being reasonable, even as their teacher or teacher's aide in my case. Um, I think that's actually been really good for me in learning to control some of my symptoms. But at the same time, working in that environment also helped me, at least at the school that I work at, because I work with an inclusive classroom. So part of my classroom is special education students, whether that means autism, Down syndrome, or just speech therapy, things like that. And the teachers work with kids that have special needs all the time. That they're kind of accepting of adults who might have special needs as well. Excuse me. Pneumonia. They're kind of really accepting of everything that kind of like or kind of draw the line on things, and it also helps me the same way that we teach the kids to kind of cope with their symptoms. And so like with the sensory issues, I don't like things touching my hands. But working in a preschool, you get pretty messy, and I've actually, since starting working there, I kind of enjoy getting kind of messy. There's some things that still kind of set me off, but I've learned to kind of just control my symptoms a little better through, I don't remember the word, what it's called, but it's exposure therapy. You can kind of consider it kind of like exposure therapy, and I think I kind of started doing that before I started going to therapy, but it's actually helped. Nowadays, I feel like with my coping mechanisms that my therapist has taught me and my medications, I do feel a lot happier, and I feel like there's hope for the future for me to be able to lead a normal life, and people being more accepting of people that don't fall within the category of normal. I don't think I'm abnormal, but people can think what they want to think. I just don't feel the need to hide my symptoms really that much anymore. I'm kind of tired of hiding. It's exhausting, and being true to myself and not caring what people say has made me a lot happier. If you're someone that's going through OCD, I hope that you remember that you're not the only one going on this journey, and I wouldn't want anyone to go on this journey alone. I had my family, and they were supportive, but because of cultural stigmas, they really don't understand what OCD is, and a lot of times mental illness gets shoved under the rug kind of thing. Like, you don't talk about it, and you don't tell people about it, and why are you telling people you have OCD? And I'm like, if I tell them if I have OCD, anxiety, or PTSD, it's because I want them to be a little more understanding, and I want them to know that I have my limits, and some days are just gonna be a little worse than others. It's not for pity, it's nothing like that. It's just I wish people would understand more, and I would like to educate people of my culture more about it. But I'm glad that my family was supportive once I told them when I was finally diagnosed, and they've been pretty supportive. They have their days. There's days they still don't understand it, and that's normal. It's a process. It's a healing process for the whole family, because for the longest time, I was misdiagnosed as bipolar, so it's kind of nice to have an actual diagnosis, a true diagnosis, because this is the first time medication has actually worked for me and stopped a lot of my symptoms. But if you're someone that's going through some of the things that feel like OCD, there's nothing wrong with going to your doctor. And if your doctor doesn't believe you, doesn't take you seriously, then maybe it's time to talk to a different doctor. Most people can probably feel there's something wrong, something's not normal. My brain isn't working the way that people think it should work, and a lot of people go through it. It's not abnormal. It's actually very common. But I would just suggest anyone, if you don't want to take medication, therapy, going to a therapist is not going to make you take medication. And they just talk to you, and they help you deal with the symptoms and talk about coping mechanisms. But that's for another video. So thank you for watching the video, and I hope it was informative, and it kind of cleared some of those misconceptions about people with OCD. Thank you.